Okay, let me see. All right, so
Okay. I see our icons.
I still see the same thing. Plans to go live.
Okay, hold on. It's live
Is it
on Facebook. Yeah, I see us.
on the scoop page? Okay, there we are.
Mm-hmm.
Just saw it. Okay, all right,
All right.
let's go live now.
All right. So we are officially back and confirmed that we are good. So, hey, what's up, KG? And we got comments. That's what I'm talking about. All right, you guys. Not sure if you all were on the first go around of this thing, but we are welcome that you are here. So glad, so glad. If you all are first time checking in, if you would go ahead, please, and make yourself comfortable, like you see our good friend, our good brother. KG has already done by giving us the A-OK that we are locked in for this evening. But drop your city and state for us for the one time. Let us know where you are tuning in from. And before we swipe this screen off of here and get going, go ahead and take a screenshot and be sure and tap in with us on all of our social media channels so that you can catch the replays and stay tapped into our conversations throughout the week. Okay, so you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, and Instagram by searching and subscribing to at The Scoop Show, at Real Scoop Show, at The Scoop Show, and The Scoop Radio Show. All right, so be sure that you tap in with us on all of the channels. Hit the bells, the whistles, the notifications so you never miss a ting. All right. So I am anxious to get into this agenda. And I want to, before we do that, I want to let you all know how you can always stay connected to us over here on these Scoop Streets. And that is via straight out of the inbox. Okay. We want you to let us know what it is that's got you down the rabbit hole out here on Beyonce's internet. Okay. We want to know what has got you in a chokehold. Okay. If you are skipping your breaks and late to lunch, back from lunch, all of the above, because you were deep, deep, deep into the Seymour, all comments is your jam. Yeah. We need to know about that. All right. So slide in our DMs with your scenarios, your links, your screenshots, your saves, all of the things, because we want to know. And if we get it going on our pages where it's enough conversation, we want to bring it here to the show. Okay. So that we could talk about it. We can really get into it, dig a little deeper. And then Win and I get a chance to give you our unadulterated, unfiltered thoughts on said subject. We get to chat it out. All right. So whenever you see this image right here, or you see us hashtag straight out of the inbox, be sure and tap in with us. Okay. We want to know what you think. Yes, KG. Let us know when you get out there. Think, this sounds like something we talk about,
Absolutely.
and bring us in. All right. Because it's something we talk about. All right. So let us know. So yeah, straight out of the inbox, and we are good. Now we're good.
Now we're
How
good.
you doing, bro?
Listen, now that we're good, I'm good. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
it
good.
gets interesting sometimes. This technology out here.
Yeah, this is the last couple of weeks been acting real weird. But I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Uh, it's been a it's been a good week so far. So it's just Tuesday, but it's still been a real good week. Happy to be here. All that good jam, all that good stuff. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this is since this is Women's History Month. I'm not preaching all month, so we have four ladies preaching every Sunday,
Hey.
a lady preaching every Sunday. So that's I get to sit back and enjoy and actually just enjoy myself a little bit more. So that's been fun. That was fun this week. So
That does sound fun. I
yeah,
think it's so dope that you know that. I'm not gonna go on that tangent. Shout out to you for that.
yeah.
KG, I have no idea who that person is that you just mentioned. So yeah, get on it, bruh. Send us a link. I
Yeah,
don't know who that is.
who is Adrian Andreas? Well, actually,
I
you
am
can
not
look
familiar.
it up. So yeah, so we got it was a lot went down this last couple days, so we got some good topics, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty excited about these topics.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be a good chat. Good chat.
Yeah. You ready to get in?
Yes, let's do it. Right, KG. Empower the women, Pastor.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Listen, absolutely. They're very empowered. Do I have multiple screens open? Hold on.
In
Yeah,
the family.
I have multiple screens open. There we go.
Women get love in the family.
Yeah.
She's a 31-year-old woman who had a kid by a 13-year-old boy, and she's not going to jail, and they're letting her keep the baby.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I have to look that up. So we're going to look
I'm going to link us in to that.
Yeah, send that to my inbox.
Wow.
Yeah, inbox that one. Okay.
13.
That's not on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah. We ain't got it. I have for that. Those are my current thoughts on that.
I need to go look her up, Andrea.
Wow. That's a lot. I wasn't ready for that breakdown.
Colorado. Oh, she's okay. 31-year-old Colorado woman.
I bet the boy mama does want. Yeah, get us the link. I bet she does. Yeah. I think she want to press more to charges. Charges is just what's close right now. I can guarantee that mama want to press more than charges. Huh?
They said no jail time.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, I'm sending it to you.
Shout out to you, KG. Appreciate it. That's crazy.
This is the first I'm hearing about that. I don't know. Like, I guess I ain't been paying attention well enough. I missed out. I just sent it to you. No jail time for the rape pregnancy of a 13-year-old boy. 31-year-old woman who admitted to having sex with a 13-year-old boy and getting pregnant with this child will serve no jail time. I feel like if she was a man and he was a little girl, it would definitely be different. The victim's mother said they would be seeking more. I feel like because he is not a woman, they are not. They are having compassion for her. Mm-hmm. Arrested her. Oh, this happened in June of 22. Okay. She admitted, Serrano admitted to police that she had sex with a teenager who remains unidentified due to his age, and they detained her in El Paso County Criminal Justice Center while her case has remained ongoing.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to dig into that. But I do agree with that original comment of she's definitely getting leniency for that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now he's having to be a father. 13 years old.
Couldn't be my son. Couldn't be Adrian. Whoa!
Wow.
This story would have went totally different. Had that been me and mine. Totally different.
We just look.
I can't guarantee that, but it wouldn't have been this story. It wouldn't have been no jail time and we just pressing charges. It would have been ongoing. We'll say that. It would have been.
We just say this.
It could have been the ending, probably. But no, I would have been grinning. Talk about BTM already, okay? Naturally beat after I beat that. Because absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have to come back to that. We're going to have to circle back.
Yeah, we have to do that. All right, well, let's get into what we do have to talk about. Okay. Speaking of, it's a very good introduction into our first one. So there was
kind of a segue.
Yeah, good segue.
Keep the babies at the house.
So reports are showing that more Black families are beginning since 2020, which would be COVID. That now more Black families are beginning to homeschool their children. So have you considered homeschooling for your family? Why or why not is the question. Is this something you ever thought about?
No. I do not have the patience for homeschooling. And I know that about myself.
Okay.
I have always been down for like the community pod type learning where, let me say this, I could teach certain things, certain subjects, certain content, pieces of content, but to be primarily responsible for the lesson plans, execution, and the whole, that seems very overwhelming for me. That would be a huge transition for me, that I don't know that I would be as successful at, even with my best efforts. And like, you get one time to do this level for your kids. So I would really want people who knew what they were doing and had the capacity for, and my kids are hella smart. So like, there are times where it's more of a conversation than a lesson anyway, because of the information that they have access to and the way that their brains think. So I don't know if I'm equipped to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I am able to first impart knowledge to the level that would then also stretch it at the same time. You know what I mean? So like, that's me having enough self-awareness about what's required to excel at the next level that I know they're going to, and where I currently am, there's a huge gap. So to me, that would not be a benefit for my child. And because of the level for my children, and because of the types of conversations we have, I feel we're able to supplement what's lacking in the cultural, real world application of some of the stuff that's up for debate in schools right now, the whole CRT and what's this and what's that and all that other stuff. I got that. I can handle that. The reading, wrap, arithmetic, like those things. I'm gonna need the folks who actually, I highly respect teachers, highly give them all the money, all the things, give it to them. You know what I mean? So I stay in my lane. I will support and supplement, but no, I'm all for the pods though. Like, I would pay good money to put my kids in a supported, well defined and established pod of teachers who have maybe left the school system and have been able to create a curriculum. Like, oh yeah, that I would be all for. I would be for that.
So I personally, I think it would come down to the economics for me. Just how would that work? And when I say the economics, I mean like the loss of income. Because if you're homeschooling, that's your job. That's your job. So what would that do to me financially? First of all, I don't have the what's the word I want to use? I'm not gifted for that. Like, I love kids, but not. I don't know if I have that kind of. I still got a little too much old school parenting in me. Like,
for the littles, it's absolutely not even a thing. Teenagers, I could consider it, but absolutely not for little people. You need a special type of heart to do little people extended periods. Yeah,
I fight you. You talk crazy to me the wrong day, and I want to, I want to hit you in your throat.
Now you're on punishment, and you just school is not over; it is carried over. You on punishment now, like that's.
That's not my gift. Let me say that. But I do have. So I have a I don't think you know. Well, yeah, Ray. I don't think you know Ray. You know Ray. No, you don't know Ray. Okay. So I have a friend, Ray, who has homeschooled his sons for a period of time. And I said the same thing to him when he was doing it, but his rationale was the way they were teaching his son wasn't helping his son. And so he homeschooled him, and like within a period of time, like a very short period of time, his grades turned. Like
nice.
A lot of it was, just not the distractions of all the other people. Like the day wasn't as long.
Yeah,
they wanted to like medicate him and all. He's like, no, he's just can't sit there this long for that. So we gotta.
It gave him the flexibility that he needed to be able to get what he needed. Yeah.
So that for him, like was beneficial. And then I think like at some point, I can't remember what grade they sent him back to public school. And so so I think that's worked. I also know another family. They've got a pastor of the previous church I was at. They got like a lot of kids, and that's his wife's job. Is she's 6 or 7 kids. She's homeschooled their kids, and they do well. But I think also because there's so many of them, the socialization part, plus not only does they do that, but she's also like the basketball coach. So like they formed connections with other home schools,
and that's a lot of communities have that have
and so they have like a basketball league. So like her kids, cool. Like all these, they have like their own basketball team, soccer team. and so they go against other homeschool, like they have a
So
league.
they get the socialization too. That's
So the
cool.
socialization is present. So the so I mean it works for them. It wouldn't work for me. And watching those kids, all the kids I just said, they're very smart. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
super smart. So it's like, okay, they have a level of that's, I'm not gonna say it's not normal, but they're just very smart kids. And I'm not saying all homeschool kids are smart or all homeschool. I'm just saying that these kids that I have seen have thrived in that environment, largely, I think, because of the flexibility, because they were able to move at a pace that was good for them. And I will say this, they're actually homeschool curriculums.
Yeah, that was gonna be my that. Yeah, there. And I've had conversation. I've observed conversations with parents who are a part of homeschooling communities, and they have shared that once you sign up for it and let the people know that that's what you're doing, they do provide quite a few
Mhm.
resources. You know, you've got a wealth of knowledge. You do have access to actual certified teachers and all of that.
Mhm.
And I think that's beautiful. You should put those types of resources in place if a parent decides to make that decision. I think it's really great when communities and actual schools partner with homeschooling parents to make sure
Mhm.
that everything is covered. But I also, with all that being said, because that's not a surefire kit for success, there's still discipline, there's application, there's a whole way you've got to structure
Right.
your life to accommodate being responsible
Oh yeah.
for
Oh yeah.
that learning for your child. So yeah, if
Absolutely.
you can structure your life to make it work, I do think, you know, if you work the program, it
Yeah.
can absolutely work for you and your family, especially if you're a traveling family. You know, you're
Mhm.
exposing your kids to different experiences, and you know, it
Right.
it it can be amazing.
I think so. I wasn't, so back to the original. They were talking about that more Black families are doing it. I think that COVID shifted a lot of
Mhm,
us, because now it was like, okay, maybe we started reprioritizing
mhm,
our lives. Like, okay, I really don't want to enjoy being in the out in the workforce like that, and we can afford it if we make these adjustments. So let's
mhm,
do it.
mhm.
To your other point, I think the discussions about like CRT, the discussions about trying to control, like not teaching financial literacy, like those types of things are also contributing, because, like, I'm going to use this curriculum, but I'm also going to use more real world um, uh, examples, or have real world discussions, so that way my kids know about, you
Yeah.
know,
Ain't no banned books in my living room.
right. Right. So I think
Mhm.
those are also a part of it too. Like I said, I think if it's something that works for you, go for it. Because especially in our community, because let's just be honest, like the public school system in our community is typically not the greatest. Like,
No.
so we get the last.
Which is why I think we especially should be having more of the pod conversations. I think
Mhm.
because so many of us do come from those poor public schools, we can't super trust the strength of what we're working with. And the fact that we've been out of school, I just had my 20-year class reunion. I have been actively
High
out of
school.
this high school, yes, actively out of like this stage of life's learning for 20 years now. You know what I mean? So like
Coming up on
it's
30.
new math. Everything is new. It's new English, it's new math, it's new science. All of it is new for me right now. So like I think it would, for
Mhm.
us, because of the current political problems that we're experiencing, where it wasn't accurate education in the first place. And now they're even trying to water that down more. So we can supplement that frustration that we have with bringing it back to that whole, it takes a village. You know, we got some, if we want to do financial literacy, we need someone who's good in that. And we can create a
Right.
curriculum that that even for those students who aren't homeschooled, they can still be a part of
Absolutely.
these pods so that our kids get what they need. We know how to teach our kids in a way
Mhm.
that is not, you know what I mean? So we can
Mhm.
still parlay this in a way, because I'm not taking anything away. There are a lot more conversations that we're having as far as what's being taught. What do you think about that?
Mhm.
What do they
Mhm.
say about
Mhm.
that? because I do know there's so much conversation about what's being taught in schools, especially here in Oklahoma. They are showing they ass here in Oklahoma as far as the schools are concerned. They voted to do it, and now they're trying to vote legislation in to hold him back. Now we got to double check everything that he does. Why did you let him in here if you wasn't gonna let him do what he was supposed to do? Because you knew he was crazy in the first place.
Now y'all mad about it. She was saying she had to do it again. She had the option. She would send them to put her son, I'm assuming, to private school, which I think a lot of times we think is, I have nothing against. I went to private school for like a year too, but
I would if the schools here weren't based in some type of religious belief. The private schools here in Oklahoma are all
everywhere.
That's the part that turns me off about private schools. I want to be responsible for that.
My issue is, so we went to Catholic school for 2 years, year and a half. And that's why I was only a year and a half, because we're not Catholic. And so there became an issue with that. But so yeah, I don't necessarily have an issue with, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because obviously don't have to worry about that right now. But I think that if I did, I don't necessarily would have a problem with the religious aspect of it. I would have an issue with if it was being forced that you had to participate if you didn't want to. I think that would be more of my issue. Because I mean, if you don't want to, I didn't want to say Hail Mary. I didn't so I didn't feel like I should have been forced to. So then I took it real Malcolm X, and I didn't want to. Then I refused to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they was like, "Well, you got to say that." I don't have to say.
I was like, "You was calling before calling was a thing. You was." So you were Kappa kneeling long before it was trending.
Not knowing my sisters in the other room doing the same thing, and so they put us out. Yeah. So I think I wouldn't want it to be something forced. So I don't have the issue with private. I don't have an issue with private school either, because again, I think I can see the benefits of that in terms of the work levels that they put,
results,
rigorous,
results driven,
and then not even so much as that, but I think the bigger picture for me is who else they're in school with. And if they daddy is the CEO of said company, I need you and daddy to get close, so that way when it's time for you to do whatever you want to do, you can, hey sir, I need some seed money, or I need a job, or I need access into this place. I think for me that would be the more lucrative reason to do it, because
I think I'm kind of reading what KG just said about wanting his child to have the public experience. I think for me, if having to do it all over, I would attempt to be more strategic in a way where, yes, I totally agree that there is a need for a public school experience. And I think that is often most beneficial within that elementary age, where you're understanding how to treat people, socialization, the basics, things like that. But what you just spoke about, that next level, that preparation, the networking, the connections, things like that, the real strategy for future, that would be where I would be more willing to invest in and be more flexible in how I would navigate that based upon those potentials for the children, for those kids. Because like with the high schools, like all of the kids, Maya and Nasia go to different schools right now, similar for that reason. I mean, what do they need at this point, and which school system is going to provide what they need, not so much what you think it is based on the name. One kid would not really do well at where the other kid is. You know what I mean? This kid's going to kill it right where she is, as opposed to moving her. And that would just be like a catastrophe. So I think we do have to be, as parents, really strategic as far as just letting them go. All right, this is your home school. This is your home middle school. This is your home high school. Off to college you go. We're granted more privilege now to be able to pick and choose, where our babies go for their education.
And to KG's point too, I hear that because that was for me was what Langston was. Like to me, even though I went to public high school, like I think I got the real world aspect and feel navigating Langston. That was but the downside to Langston for me as a business major was the limited. I said limited because it was some there, but the limited opportunities for when you graduate. Because there a lot of at the time it was the Walmarts, the Walgreens, the more of the retail type business management positions. Unfortunately, again, I went into banking, but that was those to get, but it wasn't even. It was the retail side of banking. So to get into your corporate training management training programs, to get into those positions oftentimes require somebody who knows something who get you in.
Make it work. Yeah.
At that time, we just didn't have it when I was there. So I think for me, that was the downside. But again, to his point, the real world, what the real world looks like I got all of that. And I am grateful. I'm grateful for that. So
same. I didn't go to Langston, but I had a similar real world. I had a school experience that gave me that same. Oh, one of those. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is what it is. Okay, this is what it is.
It gives you a different set of tools, not necessarily a diploma or you know what I mean, or that
right,
whatever. But you come out with a different level of strategy to you that allows you to thrive in a different way than just speaking to a test or scores or all that. So yeah, it's what you make it for sure. We work with what we got.
Absolutely. All right, you ready to keep moving?
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's see. So I saw this on Instagram. It says, according to the Wall Street Journal, married couples hold 4 times as much wealth as unmarried couples who live together. Combining finances is one of the main reasons why. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about it. So my question was, we talk about the wealth gap and a plan to and how the therapist plan to ruin the family. Could we see more wealth if we had healthier families? And why is the topic of money difficult to get to a place of unity in relationships? He said he knew you didn't go to Langston.
Facts. I have become an honorary lion for a long time. I've had so many people throw me in Langston memories that I'm like, no, that wasn't me. But I agree. We would definitely be we would have been friends for sure. So to this question, bro, it's hard for us to have these conversations about money and come to an agreement because we just now got some. This is not a conversation we're used to having. What are we doing with money, let alone money that one would consider wealth? So it's new. And it's new and vulnerable because I have it. I've never had it. I sometimes don't know really how I got it and what I plan to do with it. So
and I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And now all I hear is you wanting some of it. Like all conversations about the money sound like you want some. And why? Like that's so it's a tough conversation. Money is similar to death for us. We fear it. We fear success. We fight for success to attain it so bad. And then when we get it, it's like we fight just as hard to lose it because we fear it so much. It's so crazy how we do that. But yeah, this is one of those subjects that I think we've struggled with. And now that we have actual money to plan with and strategize and family plan, it's creating a lot of stress because we haven't done we don't know. We haven't educated ourselves to really make good decisions. And we have a lot riding on making good decisions with this money. If we don't, we're the first. We're the onlys. We're, you know what I mean, to have it. And the family is counting. We might as well all have that NBA contract type of thing in the way that we've created these types of lives for ourselves. And it's a scary, scary conversation. Yeah.
That's a big gap.
Shows couples ages 25 to 34 who live together had a median net worth of $17,372 in 2019 compared to $68,210 for married peers. Shows couples age 25 to 34 who live together had a net worth of I'm just putting my numbers together. 17,000. Married, 68,210. Median net worth. How much of that brings taxes into that? Like, how much of that is based on or is this just salaries what we put into the pot?
Well, it would be net worth. So
come on, money manager.
So let me say, I think probably the bigger. No, I don't think taxes really have as much to do with it.
Okay.
The married couple is probably paying more taxes. I would say the biggest issue of this, the biggest contributor is probably a home. So that's probably because couples who are cohabitating typically do not buy a house together either until they get married or right before they get married. So I think that might be the difference, and that's probably the biggest difference in the net worth.
So even if $68,000 would be a viable net worth for a married couple with a home that's purchased a home.
Yeah, I mean, because net worth is based on the equity in the house. So if I buy, a house that's bought a house that's $150,000 in 2015, and now it's worth $250,000, then we got $100,000 equity. And right now we're in the gap. We're in a phase where home prices have gone drastically up, so that could be a part of it too. I'm sure. I think the other part of this, in previous studies, what is also shown is that across the board spending is down for married couples. Because you're married and you ain't, you going out to eat and going to the movie.
You with your person that you be going out to do stuff with.
Right. So that's a part of it. And then other expenses are lower. So car insurance is typically lower. Medical insurance is typically lower. Like all of those costs are typically lower for married people as opposed to unmarried. So I think that's also probably a part of it too. If I was, just off the top of my head, think of it.
So the question is, we're asking why we're not.
So my first thing was, we talk about the wealth gap. Like, I think the number said something like by 2015, Black families will have zero net worth. And so, and we also have this thing where we like to say culturally that there's an attack on the Black family. So I'm asking, like, those two things, if those two things are true, and we've accepted those as true, what would happen? Why aren't we focusing on having healthier families so that we could close this wealth gap? Like, why is it so hard for us to get to a place of health so we can see more 68,210 than the 17,000? So that was really the question.
Okay. Thank you for that. Because at first I was thinking, I don't think it's wise for us to say, get married to create wealth, and that's going to save the Black family. So I appreciate you clarifying that and not cleaning it up, but clearing that up. Because yes, I think the reason why we struggle getting to a healthier family is we really don't know all that's made it sick. We still haven't totally agreed on what has our families sick.
True.
Everyone, based on whatever level of trauma they have or have not experienced, is more or less willing to see how sick.
I don't know why. Why does this? Should be back just a second. Technology. And we know you ain't touching because your hands is up
Right?
here.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's nothing. As soon as I saw, I went. It's like, but we haven't agreed on what has made us sick, and if it hasn't touched you or you're not familiar with it, it's not. I don't think we give it as much as we're not as willing to diagnose and treat if it was not something that I'm also aware of. Or if it has affected me, I'm hyper focused on either resolving it and only it, or I'm fully not acknowledging that ever happened because I made it and I'm here. And if I survived, then so can you. So we don't need to fix that thing. That's just a part of life and we're going to grow through it. So like we've got different levels of accountability and deniability and visibility. Some of us won't even see some of the things that have made us sick, that are keeping our relationships at all levels from thriving.
So do you think that okay, so I agree with that. My response to that though is, but we know the unhealth or the result of unhealth can be for us. So why are we like? Do we think it's not going to happen? Like, what we think it's going to skip? Like why are we? That's why I think why it's like why can't we get to this place where if I know that this is like we know historically number one reason for marriage in the marriages is financial. We know that. That's not. So why are we saying in this area or in other areas that we are going to now not knowing is one thing, but like I don't know that I have this issue, so okay, I can't address it. But and even to that, I would say, then what are we doing before we enter into these enter into marriages that we haven't even had the time or whatever to examine all of this stuff. So yeah, I'm just trying to. I think I'm just trying to figure out what's the. I don't know. You know, my analytical mind is like, do we need a better process? Do we need something to do something different before we're getting into marriage? How do we know that we're actually prepared for healthy marriage? Where are we at in terms of how do we know as individuals that we're actually ready? Like, I just got a lot of questions about this.
That is I do not believe we have been prepared to be married. I don't believe that we are willing to prepare in a lot of ways. And I'm speaking very broad. I am generalizing right now. We were not set up for success to begin with. We did not know, and that's not shade to our parents. Our parents did not know what was coming as far as access, innovation, information, technology. None of this could have been predicted in the 80s. And I was born in 84. You know what I mean? So like from a little bit before and a little bit after, that's where our range is, primarily hits. Like our parents could not have possibly prepared us anymore for that level of readiness. They gave us enough of the you could be whatever you put your mind to, and that gave us the audacity to heal to this level, even so that we could try and show, like what KG mentioned, our baby's going to be superheroes and absolutely heal, because they're going to see that while we're still struggling, we seeing each other struggle, they're going to see the effort and eventually the results, the rewards of us doing this work. And it's going to be second nature to them. But we have just now begun to understand the value of understanding what broken is and valuing the resolution of it, seeing what being broken and trying to do all of this does for the long game. We finally are trying to wake up to that. It's hard. It's not always, the first thing that we do, because a lot of us are deep into the marriage, the
Mhm.
family,
Mhm.
the marriages. Sometimes some of us are on our second, third, you know what I mean? I've been trying to figure it out with what tools we had, with what background we had, with what examples we had. And we're realizing, okay, some of this isn't effective. This isn't really giving us what we need to build this community that we're saying that we want. So we're stopping, we're
Mhm.
pausing, we're completely removing ourselves in a lot of ways. We're going into the different, hey, however you get it, how you live, y'all get it how you need, as far as in healing, whether it be therapy, whether it be in finding you a group of people who are you could talk to until you feel necessary, you can go to that step. But it has to be a level that we as individuals come to of, I don't have all of my shit together.
Mhm.
That's step
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Like, despite my best efforts and putting myself in all the rooms and reading the books and following the
Still
people
ain't
and
got it all.
praying the prayers, I ain't got it.
I still ain't got it all together.
So let me go get what I need, because I love me enough, and then I'm going to love whoever else eventually enough, and my babies and then my friends and my family and my effort of why I wake up and do what I do enough to fix it. And then
I'm gonna keep doing it.
and I'm gonna focus and be disciplined enough to do that work, because I know that as I'm changing, life is changing, this world is changing. And after you get in it, after you experience it for a while and start to see a little benefits, you see why it's a long game. This is not
Mhm.
just something you do for a little bit and then you gone. It ain't a double dutch. You know what I mean? Because life keeps happening. But we have not been able to, I don't know if it's a pride thing. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know what it is that has
Mhm.
made it so that we are afraid to say, I don't have it and I need to fix it. Can you help me? Or I'm going to get the help.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why, and then wonder why we get into these relationships and they don't work. Shut up, y'all. We got it. This is just a little rough. No, we don't got it. We don't got it. It's hella rough. Ain't a little rough. Have you been living the last same 2 years I was living? This is not, ain't nothing little been about this rough. Okay. Ain't nothing little about this rough. This is hard. Okay.
We out here
Life
trying
has
to
been
figure it
life,
out.
and I know I think that is a lot of the reason why. And then it gets hard because we've built so much of who we are into these relationships, being a good this, a solid that, an upstanding this. I'm whatever. You know what I mean? We're the first, like I said, the first, the onlys of so many for our people, because we're the first to have this access, these privilege, this pathway.
Yep.
So it's a lot riding on all these things that we created before we had any idea what we were doing.
Yep. She said, hold on, me. Daphne said, also, she said, financial literacy has not been taught as it should among our community. There's a huge gap in our community. Both
Yes.
parties have to be on the same page. One is trying to be financially literate and the other doesn't care, then it becomes a problem. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And being able to be honest enough with each other to say, we're on moving in two different directions on this. We got to get on the same page. Like,
listen, my thing is, if you don't care, then let the other person manage it. If you don't care,
but we care because we've never had it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I care enough because it's
well, and I think there's also the part of there's the control. Like,
yes.
I also don't want to be controlled or feel like I don't have control of my money, and
right.
so which I totally get. I just think that we've got to. I think that one of the thoughts that I try to put in front of people and myself is that this is not just that. I move beyond the whole this is a business. I don't like that. I don't like the idea that marriage is a business. I don't like that. I think you have to handle business in marriage. Yes. I don't think handle is a bit marriage is a business, but I also approach it like you have to be able to trust the most intimate and vulnerable places of your life with another person. And so I think head freeze.
No.
What was that?
There is literally, like, the entire time, like the last 15 minutes, I've had a pulsing that's happening like right here. It comes like every 3 or so minutes. It's so weird. That's why I just had to like stop. Y'all. I'm gonna meditate on that after this is over. But it is literally like happening like right here as we're talking. That's so crazy to the point where I have to touch it. I was like, my bad, but that was
I'm like, "What, you all right? We need to."
Yeah, it's been consistent, which is why I was like, "Girl, you all right? Like, what is happening?"
I said, "Do I need to?"
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Listen, I can.
Hey, when I say downloads, I don't think that word was chosen for nothing. There is a reason why that is like it is literally right in the middle of my eyes, like right here. Carry on.
Get it on.
Carry
Yeah.
on.
So no, I think we have to be aware that of the level of intimacy and vulnerability, even from a economic standpoint, not just a physical standpoint, but economic standpoint, an emotional standpoint, that the relationship of marriage brings with it. And that, usually I think it's probably not as easy for us to gauge how the depth of that, because at that point, when you're trying to get married, like there's the you in love, and the world is good, and we'll never have real problems. You're still in that phase, but then as you experience, which is why I was wondering if there's a time frame that we should try to experience where we get that opportunity to see how life's for the other person,
right,
and how the other person responds when life happens to them, that we're able to then make a better decision about that. Or should we enter in knowing that these are the best of times, and there's going to be some worst of times, but those worst of times, if you handle them well, don't last forever, and so now you just have to learn how to work through them. So
I think we go in understanding it. I don't think we go in preparing for it.
Right.
I think that's the way that we say that we're grounding ourselves and staying reality based. Well, we know it's gonna be some hard times.
Right.
We love each other enough. We're gonna be able to work it through. But like, ain't talked about like what you act like when you pissed off, or what your triggers are. Like, we don't have none of those conversations. We don't talk through any of it. We don't.
And you haven't
seen any of that.
Yep.
We just
you haven't seen it to see if they really that's actually how they respond to those triggers when they say they're gonna respond.
Yeah.
So, they say I feel like marriage is about duty, then love, then business.
Duty, love. I don't know. I have to marinate on that one, bro.
Yeah. I'm also let me say that I'm also been wrestling with this statement, love is not enough, too. So I'm wrestling with that one. So KG, to add that statement to it is actually beneficial for me. So
me too. Look, I'm looking for my pen. Look, that's what I'm currently. I'm gonna have to put that one in the chat.
Just take a picture of it.
I'm gonna copy that and put that in the chat. Yeah,
take a picture of that one.
I'm very intrigued by that because me too. I have been also kind of thinking about, because I think it's shifted a lot. We talk about why we shouldn't shift, and it is what it is, and ain't nothing changing. That's the problem. We're trying to adjust what everything is, and that's the problem with everything. Just leave everything alone. And I'm like, if everything was so good, then everybody wouldn't be so unhappy.
Yeah.
That didn't just come social media, by social media. The pandemic isn't what just all of a sudden made people unhappy. You know what I mean? People getting a couple dollars ain't the thing that all of a sudden made marriages fail. Like, this is, look, we're gonna come back to this. We got a lot to think about this, but
that's a good one. Okay, you got two of them we got to come back to now. All right, you want to keep going?
Yeah. This is good.
All right. So this weekend, also, our good brother Christopher Rock dropped his new Netflix special, Selective Outrage. This weekend. So I'm interested in your thoughts. I saw it. You saw it. Talk to me. What did you think about it? Selective Outrage.
It is what I expected from this. There are parts that I laughed. I did find some parts that tickled me. but I'm not raving about it. I don't think it was just groundbreaking or he said anything that was just super, you know. But I'm also, y'all know, I'm not a super Chris Rock fan. Chris Rock gives me the uncle at the cookout vibes that we know has stuck himself in a certain mindset, mind frame, and no matter what you tell him, what he sees, what he learns, he's gonna say, yeah, and he's gonna, hit you back with that same, he stays right here. That's kind of where I put Chris Rock. Every once in a while, he'll go give you a, or a good little giggle or whatever, but I don't really, he's not the profound comedian that a lot of people are liking to put him in. He does a lot of him and not just this show, but like over the last little segment of show of us talking about him, he gives me shtick. He gives me shock. It gives me shtick. It gives me uncle in the corner with his you know what I mean? Like he's Chris Rock, and like I said, there were funny parts of it or whatever, but yeah, I didn't expect him to go easy on Will and Jada. Like I expected it to be as hard as it was, as rough as it was, as kind of choppy as it was. Like it was emotional. Like I expected it to have energy, and he gave us energy. So like, I can't get super mad. I'm not mad as a woman about. I've said what I've already needed to say as far as my defense of Jada and how I think she gets drug unnecessarily and terribly. I think people have selective hearing when it comes to their outrage as it relates to Jada. We like to pick and choose the points of what we know about her, regardless of what we also know about her, and create this image of this terrible person. So like I've said that already, I'm not going to do that. So with the situation as it relates to Chris Rock, I don't think any of them are surprised by what he said or did. I think out of all of it, I was the most surprised by Marlon Wayans using 58 minutes to compare his life to the slap. Like he also released a comedy special this weekend. I haven't watched it yet. But he also has one that is out on HBO. I think it is. It's not on Netflix. It's on HBO. But like he reflects on his life through the lens of the Oscar slap. Like that's the summary on HBO Max of Marlon Wayans' new comedy stand-up. And I like Marlon Wayans too, but I don't know if I want to hear him talk for 58 minutes about how two other men had an altercation on the Oscars and how it affected him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm excited about that. I think that's kind of riding a wave that really never needed to become a wave like that. It got to be a bit.
I mean, we've all waited for Chris to say what he was going to say. So I think, but I think other than that part, the wave we can move on now. So, okay, my take, first of all, so two things. I'm not a fan of the B word, especially calling women B words. Yep. And y'all know I'm not a fan of the N word, especially in public. So I know I'm going to get a lot of N's and B's with Chris. I know. So I didn't care for that. I think that his segment on abortion, I was like, yeah, no. Oh, no. Like it just kept getting worse. Like I was like, okay, women, like I was fine until he was like, when he went into the part about like, I'm pro-life and pro-choice and pro-life because I like my daughters now. And like at that point after, it was like, oh, this is all downhill. This is all downhill now. Oh, no. Oh, he just say, oh.
Yeah.
I found myself doing this.
Again, shock. A lot of it is, did you say that for real? Yeah.
Yeah. So that part of it I didn't care for. I can't even remember the beginning, to be honest. What was the beginning parts? What was he talking about? I can't remember now. The beginning I laughed. There was some moments I laughed at the beginning. And then the Will and Jada part, I was like, I'm glad he got that off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he said it. I was like, ooh, he called Will. Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, ooh, okay. Like to me, and I didn't necessarily, I mean, because first of all, he admitted that Will could beat him up. So that was kind of funny to me, but it was like, okay, but then okay, you know.
Yeah.
So
I dug out of that segment. I liked that he shared how he said, look, I was a huge Will Smith fan. You know what I mean? I like that. I rock with him. I support him. All that other stuff. I like that. But then again, that also conflicted with some other things that have happened in the past. So like it was. I like that he attempted to say like, look, I had no qualm with this dude. It wasn't no, it wasn't even what it ended up being. But I do think that he allowed a lot of what had transpired before that happened.
Yeah, I'm talking about, yeah.
To now create the reason why he would, it's like he removed all rationale as to why he himself could have possibly deserved to have the shit smacked out of him. Maybe not there, but he could have been worse. So like he removed all of me from it, and that's a you thing now. You just took it out on me. So it's like he read enough comments and threads to make that his rationale for why he did what he did, removing any of the frustration that he himself may have put in that moment. Yeah. And that could have been building up. You know what I mean? Like none of that was new. That was just resurfaced. It came back after it happened as to why would he have? And then people was like, oh, wait, there are receipts. You know what I mean? So
but what made me wonder too was he had made something mention about like when something happened, he tried to call him. And I was like, okay, so, and I know it had came up before, like they had a relationship. And so I was like, okay, like, it made me wonder first his comment about how he felt about Will. Like, well, maybe they didn't have a relationship, but then he's like, well, I tried to call Will, and I'm like, oh, so they did have a relationship where they talked. So that part threw me a little bit too. It made me wonder. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, he said what he said about that part. Yes, the biting part about the daughters
was hilarious.
That was
funny. That was true.
That was funny. The his kids are spoiled was funny. Like so that part was funny. So I will say that it was funny, and I liked the story. I liked this whole my kids are spoiled. I learned not to mess with my ex-wife. Last time I messed with her, I lost my house. Like that part was funny because, and it was reality,
right?
And it was like, something that some of us can relate to. So it's like, yeah, the kids are spoiled. That part was minor too. But that was a good. That part was good. Absolutely.
Yeah. It had its moments, but overall, I was just like, yeah. And it was a lot of it, and it seemed extra. I think we have at this point we have gotten to a level of intellectual comedy where it's not necessarily clean, but the overusage of profanity has kind of worn out its welcome in a way. Not, and I cuss. Y'all know I cuss. I look at every Tuesday. Y'all hear me say my bad one. You know what I mean? Like I do. But there's also a way to be eloquent and to share something, to be funny, to get a point across without every third word being B or N or F or whatever. You know what I mean? Because at some point it's distracting. Because I was listening and I was going,
right.
Okay. All right. Like, all right. What other words? Use words, but other words. You know what I mean? And because it did start to get kind of boring. It gets kind of boring and hard to keep engaged with when you just know, oh, okay.
I think when it's
everyone ain't Dave. Yeah, you're right, KG.
Yeah, I think it was when it doesn't fit in the flow of the conversation. Like there's flow to it. So sometimes it's like, okay, that was an appropriate placement of the word. But it's like be like, I think that's when it gets thrown off when it's just over, when it's not used in a good flow.
Yes.
And this is not me saying for anybody from my church, this is not me saying that I agree with using the words at all. That's saying that.
It just feels lazy at this point. With as long as you've been doing it and at the level that you're at, if we're still getting Def Comedy Jam from the early 90s kind of vulgarity and rawness, and because that was an era of that type of comedy, you know what I mean? And it seems like there are certain comedians who are still very stuck in that. But I think there's still people that are very stuck there too. So let me shut up, because I think there's still very much a place for that. I just don't know if, I don't know. I don't like
I think I was saying before that, because I think like I think of like the Robin Harrises, the Eddie Murphys, the Red Foxes, they were all very much so. So I think, I mean, it's been in comedy forever. So that's not, I think it's just the I think, like you said, we're at a point where we're kind of looking first in some moments for something more than that.
Yeah.
And I think with Chris, there's an expectation of it being more than that. And to KG's point, he's not Dave. He's not Dave. So that's, that's true. That's absolutely.
And even Dave can make me side eye him. So even he messes it up sometimes, but he just doesn't curse like Chris does. But yeah, he ain't. Yeah. There's a level of thoughtfulness that has to, I think, that is needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think he could do it. That would be the thing. Like, if there are some comedians, so I'd be like, yeah, they ain't got it. They don't have that. But I think that
he has the ability to finesse.
Chris has the chops to do that. Like, so that's the thing. Mm-hmm. If I didn't think he had it, I'd be like, that's all he got. Like, I ain't gonna name no names, but there's a couple of comedians I'm like, I don't think he's funny. I don't know why y'all think he's funny either, but
I think it's shock. There's me too. There's a few that are like killing it in the Black community, and I'm like,
they're terrible.
This is the one. This right here.
Like, this is
what the terrible memes are made of. Like, this comedy is what the terrible memes, the toxic memes are made of. But we're buying tickets for it, But it's, again, that's why I had to stop myself a minute ago talking about, like, we're past that point where there's a good group of us that are very much here for it. So find your people.
Yeah. I think they said he made 40 million. I saw he made 40 million.
Yes, because everybody wanted to know what he had to say. People have been waiting a year to hear what he had to say about getting smacked, and he literally lit breadcrumbs. I think that was the most well thought out placement of a teaser. Those breadcrumbs of, I don't want another rapper mad at me, like that probably got more giggles because he placed those perfectly. Like, they just snuck in to as a counter punch to the punchline. You know what I mean? Like, he slid at it, boom, boom. He hit it like, okay, and it made me think, okay, is it now? Okay, exactly. So I think if that was done as if the actual close was as thoughtful as he sprinkled those breadcrumbs through, he could have even told a better story that would have left folks more of a as opposed to, I mean, what would you expect? Like, more people are just like, well, I mean, what'd you expect to happen? As opposed to, after you wait a year and work that through, after somebody smacks you on the Oscar stage, that's how you do it. I don't think people are really doing that. They're just like, I mean, he smacked the shit out of him on the Oscar stage. What you think he was going to do? Go out there and dap him up? Like, what did you expect to happen? Yeah.
He finally, I think people are like, okay, he finally fought back.
Right. Yeah. Yes, Daphne, and all the because I saw what was it, Bigger and Blacker? I saw that one scrolling. You see, yes, Chris Rock is. We're gonna see Pookie back on the screen here in a minute. He all of a sudden gonna be the thing. What was it? What was that movie? New Jack City. Yeah, he gonna be you gonna see New Jack City with Pookie on the cover. To click here, watch now on your For You list. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I get a chance to watch New Jack City, I'm watching it.
Yeah,
I love a good. This is personal from Ice-T. You can't. Am I my brother's keeper?
Yeah. See, I was so young when that movie came out. Like, I missed the first wave of New Jack City. And then, like, once I got grown, there was so many other movies that I had missed out on. Like, I know the references but I don't know the movie, if that makes sense. Like I have
Oh.
yet to catch up on some of my black cinema from when I was way too young to know about New Jack City and things like that. Because
I snuck and watched
young.
New Jack City.
Yeah.
Because Miss Eugenia was not having New Jack City. I snuck and watched New Jack City. So yeah. But yeah. So you got some catching up to do.
I do. Don't take my black card, y'all. I'm familiar. I just can't verbatim the script. I'm familiar.
How much is it for one rib?
Oh man. Yeah, Randall, you're right. When you learn more, certain comedy doesn't. Yeah, I've grown out of quite a few different types of, and I go back and watch some comedy specials that I loved growing up, and I'm like, this is not like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I went back and watched Eddie Murphy Raw, and I was like, man, it wasn't bad. But I'm not saying it's suggesting now I'm thinking that's terrible, but it was like, man, that was a lot. That was a lot. Which made me feel like I'm getting old now. Like I'm turning to my parents. Like, oh God, I'm turned to my mother and my father now. Lord Jesus. My mother my mother be there time I want to pray over you and stuff. And I'm like, I'm turning to my parents, Lord.
Oh, Daphne, I know that was cringy. That one got me too. I don't like the way Chris Rock was letting them white people say the N-word in front of him. Yeah. And see, that one has been going, that clip resurfaces every time Chris Rock trends again. And we start to defend him and people are like, oh, really? Like, as it was, we were gonna him every time. And we're like, oh, that's nothing. You know, it's we never really pay enough attention to that clip. And it also makes me, which made me listen to some of the jokes in this most recent special a little differently. Because especially the way he ended it with you don't fight in front of white folks. And then you spent the entire time with the type of comedy that you spent saying the jokes that you said, my daughters are this, and basically my daughters are like white daughters and they got all the things plus some of the this and then it's in this and then this bitch he gotta be beat like we're gonna totally.
But you see what he said to try to cover that, right? I know what he said. I know I'm rich, but I identify as poor. That was his cover.
And I don't really like those jokes either. Yeah. My Rainbow Coalition side of me hates it when we play with that. Oh, I identify as okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not as cute and a hee as we think it is. But like that's another show for another day.
But that was his cover.
But it's like the entire thing was real side eye worthy from that perspective, and it didn't really make me go. Until at the end when he said don't fight in front of white folks. I was like, oh, so we do this instead. I was like, okay, I'm going to bed now. Like, okay, but I did. I got the side eyes, but that made me really be like,
yeah.
Okay, I see what we're doing now.
I think that to Daphne's point, he's just contradicting himself. I think he was using his own title, selective outrage. She definitely also says another one was when he was talking about Elon Musk every time he sells a Tesla. Yeah, I didn't think that was very funny. That part wasn't funny at all. Yeah.
And again, why are we sucking up to eat? Like,
yeah, that wasn't very funny.
We see who he's with. We know who his people are.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we're gonna let him do what he do.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't terrible. There was some funny parts. Some parts I wasn't.
Ooh, Daphne. Come on, visuals. He did. He was not showing up as an angel. That's for damn sure. That was not the symbolism he was giving. Okay. Again, he got his lawn chair in the back of the backyard barbecue for me. That's what we gonna keep the little babies. And then we gonna send Auntie because he drive the little babies crazy. We gonna send Auntie and them to keep him with his beer. And let the cousins rotate after they come back from their walk so they can get their giggles with Unc.
Go and talk to Uncle.
Yes, after the cousins come back from the walk to the stove and they got enough energy and patience and don't give up to go hang out with Uncle for a little bit, keep them entertained. That's what he does for me. That's where I put Chris Rock.
Every family has one of those.
Every family has one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, last one for the night. So, I wish I could play. I wish I would have had this video.
Oh, you don't have it? Oh.
I don't. Let me just wait. Hold on. I can play it, but I don't.
It was in IG. I got it. I can press the play.
You got it up, so I can go on my inbox because I sent it to so many people. So I got.
I got you.
I got it right here. You ready?
I'm about to say I don't fool with IG like that. You're at the tippy top.
You have a man that's willing to make certain sacrifices. He's willing to sacrifice his rest. He's willing to sacrifice his happiness sometimes,
right?
In order to make sure you're straight. That's actually a form of submission. And so that is a man surrendering it in his own way.
It just looks a lot different.
It looks extremely different. Mm-hmm. Every way that a man loves his wife is a form of submission. If a man is a protector, right? If he is willing to lay his life on the line for his woman, right? If he's willing to die for his family, there is that is the ultimate form of submission. If you have a man that's willing to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent that to probably 10 people.
Okay.
Men and women to ask because sacrifice is a way men submit to women. I had never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked the question, do you agree, or should I ask, do you agree with her? And then I asked, my follow-up question to everybody was, do you think that most women see, do you think most women see these acts as form of submission by men? Was the follow-up question that I asked.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with, what's your thoughts?
I was one of the 10. I did not know I was being polled, but not surprised. And my response was yes. I think that's a man's most natural way to submit. It's not the only way, but definitely the most natural and usually the first and most consistent. And to Wynn's follow-up question of, do you think most women understand these as acts of submission? I said, nah, they see it as protection. I said, so do most men, to be honest. I said, the same way we see the way we care for men as just being nurturing, a part of womanhood, and see submission as listening or deferring to his judgment versus her own. We don't connect many other acts that we do to masculinity, femininity, protection, submission, those things we've given a very clear, I want to say clear, but it's fuzzy as hell, but we've given a very specific type of adjective to specific traits, and it's hard for us to really see them as other things until we hear them put like this. So
yeah. So
see, Randall even said, he says, no, it's not submission. It's a form of responsibility.
So I think that's how most men see it, is that this is responsibility. I think for me, what made me ask the question was because it made me think, if we saw this as a form of submission. So let me back up. I hear a lot of men upset that their spouse doesn't recognize what they're doing, doesn't recognize providing, protecting as something more than a responsibility. And so if it's a responsibility, then I'm not supposed to honor you or do anything special for you because you did what you're supposed to do. And so I wondered, if we looked at this as a form of submission, would it then create a response that felt more like honor and respect, which is what a lot of men need and want, because that's how a lot of men interpret love.
Mhm.
So it's like that back and forth again, arguing of trying to figure out, am I seen, am I heard, am I being loved the way that I feel like I need to be loved? Is it that we're saying you don't honor the things that I do, the protection, the provide, the provision? So so maybe if we change that, would
Mhm.
that help? Again, this, like I said, I'm just going rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, and I mean, they're very good questions. I do think we do need to adjust how we see our efforts. I think the more knowledge we have and the more vocabulary we attach to our experiences, the more we understand how we're showing up for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Until we have the understanding, we really don't know what it looks like. Like, honestly, until I heard that video broken down the way that she did it with those examples, the way that she did, I probably would not have put the willingness to legit die for someone as a form of submission. But because from the men in my life and those that I've seen and have been the examples of fatherhood, manhood, husbandry, all of the leadership side, like that's just what we do. That's my role, and not only
Mm-hmm.
just for my family, but in the community, in the world, like, and so it has different levels to it, but that's just what men do. The
Mm-hmm.
same way women nurture and take care of at work, at home, in the church, in the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, wherever there's a baby, wherever there's somebody that needs some loving, here come
That's what we do. Yeah.
here we come. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it doesn't even translate to our
Submission.
spouses as submission because I'm bringing you the plate. You're supposed to bring me my plate.
Oh,
You
exactly.
know what I mean? Why wouldn't you bring me your plate, my plate? You know what I mean? Whereas you brought them their plates. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. So, and for a lot of women, it's second nature, and it's also for a lot of women. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? No, you don't get your own plate, because for them it does. My caring for you, my giving you that extra effort is submission, because I am an equal person on the same footing until
Mm-hmm.
you are placed in this space that now deserves this level of reverence for me. So some of us
Mm-hmm.
got it. Some of us have different criteria to reach it and all that other stuff. But
Yeah.
I think when we start to really dig into to what these words mean, because words have multiple meanings. But until we
Yeah.
have a foundational understanding of what a thing is, we're literally just what feels good to me right now. That fits, that works. Like,
Yeah.
that's not
That's not
how
enough. It's not
definitions
gonna
work.
work.
Like,
It's not
that's
gonna work.
not how that
It's
works.
not gonna work.
Yeah, yeah.
Here, let me read these. So he says, not a form of submission, it's a form of responsibility. KG says that the correlation that I made when they say you're supposed to love your wife like Christ loved the church because he gave his life, right? Maybe I was tripping. Submission, the submission of a woman should result from the man being responsible.
Mhm.
The last I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with should be responsible. I still think that submission, but could the responsibility be a form of submission? Because if I am, and I think about it in the context of if I am, I'm gonna stay on this job because this is what I'm supposed to do because I need to make sure I pay my family's taken care of, our bills are taken care of, we have a home, roof over our head, we got a car, we got clothes, we got food. I'm going to do that, even though this is not what I choose to do, I want to do, but I'm submitting myself to going to make sure that this is done
Mhm.
for my family because this is what my family needs, even at the extent of what I want to do. So to me, that's where I can see that this being a form of submission. I'm submitting myself to this relationship, to saying that as your husband, I'm going to make sure that you have A, B, C, D. You have lights, we have food, we have water, we have all of that. So just like I might not want to cook tonight. I might not want to do whatever else, but because I'm submitted to this relationship or I'm submitted to this man, these kids, making sure this relationship that I do my part, so to speak, that I'm going to make sure I do those things. So that's on both sides. I can see those being a form of submission. That's not things that I want to do. These are not things that I desire to do, but I desire my family to be taken care of. So I'm going to submit in this moment to this, so that we can have it. That's where I can, in my mind, I can see it. So,
and I think to Randall's point, as far as the submission being a result of the responsibility, I do agree with that. I think that the submission of a woman does come with that, but she does it. The level of her submission is based on, in a lot of ways, the level of which he shows up in that role of responsibility. You know what I mean? So if all of these other things, if he's submitting and showing that his priority lies within that household, then she then shows up with that same level, because he's responsible for them in the same way she's responsible for him. And that's how they're caring for one another. And it makes it easy. That's an easy form of submission when you see that effort is the same. Because we could live in a 2-bedroom house, but we're comfortable in a 4. So therefore, I'm going to do that extra effort. It's my responsibility to push that extra effort out so that we can have a 4-bedroom home. Because we got a shelter. We got it in a 2, but we're comfortable and we're safe and we're secure, and you can do your thing in a 4 versus a 2. You know what I mean? Those are the types of things. And you could fix your own plate, but I know you like to relax, and you could be talking with the babies right now while I'm fixing your plate and bringing it to you and giving you that extra love, because I know that you like this to look this way. You don't want your food to touch, and you like this sauce versus that sauce. And I know where that sauce is because you don't put up the grocery. You know what I mean? So those are things where you spin around, your food done got cold because you in the wrong side of the kitchen, because and I'm like, it's in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the different levels of how, you level up, how much you're willing to go above and beyond for your person based on how they show up for you.
I like Randall's response. He said, but you're submitting to another. He pretty much just said what you said. But you're submitting to another for your family. But when you do that, you are being responsible for your family by submitting to another. I would agree with that. Absolutely. Definitely. That's a very good question. She says, so where does the 5 love languages fall in all of this? Good question. I would say to that, I think this is a part of the 5 love languages. I would say both in, I think this would be an, act of service. This is, so I am serving you because this is it is a love language. I think the response to it is where 5 love languages has to come in, because your response to that should also, so I was saying, using the example of a man who is doing these things, if he is receiving whatever his love language is, so like my primary one is words of affirmation. If I am being affirmed that you see what I am doing as helpful, as beneficial, as responsible, and because of my responsibility, the way I am handling this, you feel a level of safety, and you are so great to have. Like, then there's where it comes in, and now we in our flow, because you're giving me what I need, I'm giving you what you need, and we're both being recognized. And I think that's to me where this comes down, is the recognition that a lot of times as men we don't feel recognized, or we don't know how to articulate that we don't feel recognized. And because, to Randall's point, we're using responsible, which is again not wrong. We're not taking that next step of saying, but this is my sacrifice. This is my offering to this relationship, to you, because I care for you. And as a response, I need to be seen as somebody who is worth you, or somebody who's what, so.
Yeah. I love the 5 love languages as a tool. And I think that when you are familiar with them and have when you can recognize them in yourself and those that you love, that they are great supplements to showing love to your people. So I think the 5 love languages are never a exchange for I'm doing this and that checks the box. I think it is just
Correct.
one way of expressing how we care for and love. It's different, it's different ways of exhibiting that love. So I think and as far as submission goes, we have to copy and paste different acts into their proper language and apply as necessary. But I think submission, I agree that it does have a Daphne says there's a negative connotation to submission, and I agree. We've had this conversation ad nauseum as far as like trying to escalate all this extra negative energy around submission. I think submission, honestly, is low-key a goal, high-key a goal. Like I think that is the safest, most securest, most complete space to be in when you are unapologetic and willing, when you seek out a different way to submit and be open and willing to serve your spouse, your person, like, you know what I mean? So like me, I think that is the fact that we run from it the way that we do lets me know that we're not as experienced with it, and we don't have, again, the vocabulary truly to express what it is that we're seeking. Because when we line item all of the things that we want in relationships and our perfect this and our ideal that, what goals are, it is legit submission.
It is submission.
It is mutual, balanced, understood, free-flowing submission from both individuals. And it's not hard. It doesn't take a lot of conversation and a lot of, well, you doing that? Well, I did this and you doing that. It is a free exchange of care. So I'm here for it.
Anthony says sub means under. That's why equally yoked is only achieved when doing as unto the Lord. Then two are together, and God is there first. Submission is seen as bad because it puts a person under the care and trust of another, and that's a responsibility that people are afraid to give because it gives up control. I agree with that too.
Yep. And I don't think we do enough work all the time to make sure that the person that we're going to do life with, we actually trust with that type of control.
And the reality is, I think when you do, you don't see control as, because when it's done well, control is not manipulation. We've attached control with manipulation or control with ownership.
Yep.
And control is not. It's not like there is an ownership to it, but it's not to the person. It's to the thing that you are controlling.
The mission, the goal,
you're submitting to. And then, I'll say it again for the millionth time. There's a huge difference between authority. Like there's an authority that comes with. So we're looking at control, but loss of control doesn't always mean loss of authority. So I could be in a situation that I'm not in control of and still be the authority. As long as I maintain my authority, I know that even in this moment, if I don't have control, guess what? I'm fine because I just step out of the situation.
Yep.
Or I'm still the authority in the room. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that tonight. But we just gotta. We have to. Yeah, I think we have to get to that place. We have to get to that place. Men who scream out, "She won't submit," usually haven't proven that they are worth being submitted to. A lot of instances, that's true. Yep. I've seen some that's not true, but I've seen a lot where that is true. Yeah, because I think we've talked about that too before. Like I think that a lot of times that's a sliding scale. What does it mean? Prove that you're worthy of being submitted to. Like that's different for you. It's different for me. And so we have an idea of what that looks like. And then it's like, hey, but also you got to do this too. Oh, and you got to do this. Like, never mind. So I get his point and I agree overall, but I think we also have to be careful culturally when we say stuff like say that, because what does, like, if you're like me, like when somebody says to me that you have to prove something, tell me what proving it looks like. Because then now, to your point earlier, I'm checking all the boxes. Okay, I pay all the bill, I do this, I do that, and that takes away from of it some of it, because now, to your point, the purpose of submission is not to check the box, is to have a heart and an attitude of service, or a life that leans towards the other person, that leans away from what you want and to what the other person, and ultimately what the relationship has decided as the way you all will function.
Yeah.
Even when you don't want to do it.
And I think that when it comes to, and I appreciate a man making this particular comment, because it's often the flip of that, and then it gets all this other backlash. But I appreciate it that this comes from you, Randall, and because it's true. And I do think that to kind of maybe offer a little pushback, but not solely, because I do agree with the sliding scale has gotten ridiculous for both genders as far as what's acceptable and what's worthy and what's, who we're willing to be good people for versus just you get what you get. Like, it's kind of ridiculous at this point. But I think there's because the idea of submission and leadership and position and order, that's the word I'm thinking, has been so intertwined and intermingled in so much of the other ways that things have gotten fishy throughout our Black folks culture and how we do things, with whether you talk about the Bible and the church and all of the, or even just the patriarchy in the world, you know what I mean, and how these things match up. There is still a disconnect in a lot of ways of the the necessary emotional work and maturity and safety that comes with leading and the charge of a family, and having another fully capable and sometimes more knowledgeable person be able to say, I submit to whatever decision you make because of position, order, all those other things. And so there is a lack of desire to fill that gap solely because I check those boxes. I do this, I pay that, I da-da-da. Damn that you don't trust me, that you really care for me, that I make good decisions, that I do the things in the best interest of. Those things are also, if not more so, important than you just holding the position. Because if that position gets stripped or your status is stripped, it's going to be this. Hear me, y'all.
Yep.
It is who you are.
Yep.
And what you're made of as a man. That is what's going to keep her in submission to you when you don't have the status, the access, the network, the fun, whatever.
Yep.
You don't have it. What you're made of is what allows her to stay in submission to you.
Yep. Amen. Go ahead.
It's been doing it the whole time. Like, I'm trying to just stop touching it at this point. I don't even know what it is. I feel perfectly fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with me, but it's just been, it literally does. It's feeling like this is what it's so, yeah.
It seems that the checklist is the same thing David did when he started taking count of everything God did for him, where he lost what God did for him.
Okay, I got to read that without it scrolling. It seems that the checklist is the same thing David did when he started taking account of everything God did for him, where he lost what God did for him.
Yeah.
When give me the background of that story. I'm not familiar with the Bible story that relating to.
David, David and Goliath, King David. Yeah.
I know that part. Tell me the story, when. I mean, the one he talking about. Do I know David and Goliath? Really? You gonna put me out there like that?
I wasn't trying to put you. I'm listening. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Anyway, Tell me after the stuff after the show, because I obviously need the Vacation Bible School version. If we going back to Do I Know David and Goliath? Lord have mercy. He done put me in children's church, y'all.
The short, no, he's just talking about the short version. It was literally David having a conversation saying, God, you did this, you've done this. And this is, of course, Psalms period. Like, you did this for me, you've done this. And then he goes into it, but you also didn't do this. Like, he's very, I use the word animated about the things that God has done and that God has taken away. You've also taken away this because I have done this. He says, like, hey, it was good that I was afflicted, because if I hadn't been afflicted, then I wouldn't know you the way that I know you. So he says things like that. So
okay.
That's
so that ties with what I was saying. When you don't have all of these things in alignment, I'm still gonna rock with you because of what of all the previous of what has been done. Or was that a way of him saying
the checklist isn't necessary? I think what he was saying was that the checklist is it's so that the checklist is not good or bad. We need the version with the pictures in it. Yeah, I think that's his point. Like, he's saying,
okay. It's all bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there we go. Thank you. That was your Bible study for the night.
Checklist is irrelevant. I think with God, the checklist is irrelevant. Yeah.
I think for I don't know. That's another subject.
Right. But I mean, I'm like, but
yeah. So let me read a couple of these.
Mm-hmm.
So one person said, I agree that it's a form of submission, but I don't know if I can say that it's man's ultimate form of submission. So I said, why do you think it's not the ultimate? And they said it's more of an ultimate submission for those who struggle with it. Those that do it innately do as a part of their personality. And I said, would that be the same for a woman who naturally makes plates, etc., like that? And they said to me, yes. For both genders, I think it's also important to still honor the biblical expectations. Although it's often seen that ordinances towards women is more harsh concerning submitting to their husband, it still has to be recognized that the ordinance for men was first set around them submitting to God in order to be the leader they should be. So there are steps to submission in my mind. So another one was, I agree with her. There are a lot of men that are not willing to do any of that. And I said, yeah. I said, well, do you think that most women think these are submission? I don't think we naturally correlate it to submission. We most times think of submission as something assigned only to women. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Like, as soon as you say I do, whatever he say, you got to do. Like that. I agree. That's kind of what I was talking about before. Like, there's an unwillingness to even identify that we've got to do a little more than just be the man and say I do. Like,
right. Another response said it's sort of. I said, do you agree? It says sort of. It's a two-sided coin. I agree it's a form of submission, but if he's doing all of that, am I matching that energy? Will he receive that as submission? At this point, I feel like submission looks different for each marriage / individual.
It does. I think it does.
I said, how does that affect what he's doing as sacrificial or submission? They said, if he's doing all of that and doesn't feel like I'm being submissive because he's doing all of that, then will he continue to do it? I do agree with the caption. A caption of it definitely gives the scripture of submitting to one to another a deeper understanding. So, I mean, it's, yeah. This is the one I want you to. She said, I won't say that most, because I asked, do you think most women will understand these acts of submission? I don't think that most women do. She said, because so many women are traumatized from life experiences that we don't recognize that that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
we have gone into a lot of these situations unprepared, with the best hopes and desires, but unprepared.
Yep.
And that has created a lot of the frustration that we have now that we are more prepared. or more willing to become prepared. And now, what do we do? Which way do we go? Which way do we go? You know, it's very, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to heal in real time, out loud, and also while still trying to love. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. You got anything else, Listen?
This one was good. I had a lot to think about. And your follow-up question on this, I guess, will be my final thoughts. It's like, what could happen if appreciate that. Thank you. Good night, bro. What would happen if we did start to take the time to see these things truly as acts of selflessness, acts of submission, acts of love and caring, as opposed to just doing what we do?
Duty. I think it would change the way that we appreciate each other. And I think it would change the way we appreciate each other. I think it would, which should cause us to have healthier relationships. Because if I appreciate you, then again, to your point earlier, now I am doing the things that I'm doing not out of duty, but I'm doing it out of a response of love, because my love for you is growing, because I recognize, man, she is doing all of this for me, and she doesn't have to do this for me, but she chooses to do this for me. So you know what? Let me go out and let me make sure that I am loving her the way that she needs to be loved, because I recognize, man, you spend so much time and so much energy making sure that I'm okay and that I'm loved well. Then what you need.
Yep.
And so I think that's what it does. And then I think, so going back to the earlier one, I think then that makes even conversations about money easier, because now my trust is there, and I recognize that, that this is not something that I got to worry about. Is she gonna leave me, or is he gonna leave me, or do I got to make sure I got some money put to the set aside? Because I think if we're cultivating that type of love for each other, then it just shifts the entire way that we feel about marriage. We don't see marriage as a chore. We see this as a beautiful act of service that we get to help cultivate the best parts and cover the worst parts of each other.
Yep. I think we have to start looking outside of our norms. It's just time. We love, I don't know. I just, it's not even a look outside. It's just, we've got to give ourselves grace. Yourself, others. We have really just been out here trying to make it. And that's not saying that anyone before us hasn't been doing that, but we've been out here trying to make it, but we have resources. We don't have to keep just trying to make it. We have resources. We have options. We just have to also push pride and ego and norms and what we used to and all of that. That has to be a sacrifice that we're willing to make for the next best self. Because what do we want? We're just struggling. Yes, just out here limping along, looking cute,
dressing nice,
and dying slow, like just dying inside, just miserable.
Making more money than we ever made. Gotten better jobs than we've ever had, nicer houses than we've ever had, more podcasts.
We are our ancestors' best dreams in real time, and we feel like we live in whole nightmares. Yeah. Why? We gotta. So it's like and at some point we have to realize that sometimes it's us. Fix it.
Yep.
Because even after you've done your work, you give others a little more grace because you see them in the middle of their process.
Right.
Like you ain't even tripping so hard on folks in the midst of theirs because you've been there. You familiar. You there. You know what I mean? So I can't look at you crazy because baby, I crazy look real familiar. You know
what I would because in your mind, I was just there. Whew, I get it. Hang on. Look, you like, hang on. This you gonna be okay.
It's coming, you know what I mean? And like, and then for those who have on the other side for me, just hold your hand out for me, sis. I'll be there. You know what I mean? Like, just keep the light on for me. You know what I mean? So like, and I think that we would get so much further than that. I'm tired of the highlight reel. Y'all not gonna see my highlight reel. Like, I'm gonna let Google keep sending it to me, and I'm gonna keep swiping that notification away. Y'all gonna get what you get. Because I mean, I think that's part of our problem. It is part of our problem. Like, we don't show what hurts the same way we show what makes us happy. And this stuff is heavy. Life is heavy. It hurts sometimes. It's happy sometimes. It sucks sometimes. But getting up and doing it again and again and again, that's the thing that we need to be talking. I'm here again, y'all. I'm back at it. We're gonna try this thing again. Like, that needs to get
be talked about. And that needs to be, we need some, I can say commercials, but we need to talk about that. We need to see that too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Get it. So that's my final thoughts. That's what I got.
Good show.
Great.
Good show. I appreciate it. Yeah, y'all was commenting tonight. I loved it. Thank you all for your comments. Yes. If you have not hit the share button to share this, do it. If you are if you got a wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like, you need to tag them and say, hey, listen to this and let's talk about this, because the purpose of this is for you to jump off into your conversations and talk about it in the specificities of your relationship. So do that, because that's the purpose of this. That's why we have these conversations, because we know iron sharpens iron, right? So we want to sharpen one another, help one another be healthy together. So as always, I appreciate all of everybody who tuned in. Looks like Q is frozen. And I appreciate you, Q. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but as always, your wisdom, your time, your insight is so valuable and needed. So write the book, ma'am. That's all I'm gonna say. Other than that, okay, we're having a storm and my power just surged. Okay, so y'all have a good night. We'll be back next week with another great show. Y'all, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all, and we will see y'all later. Have a good night.